Everest Basecamp, a name that echoes with adventure, a place where dreams take flight. I stood there surrounded by a sea of tents, a kaleidoscope of colours against the stark white canvas of the Khumbu Glacier. The air crackled with anticipation. Climbers from all corners of the globe, each with their own story, their own Everest to conquer. You could feel the energy, the buzz of acclimatization hikes, the clatter of gear, the murmur of languages I couldn't understand, yet somehow felt in my soul. Above it all, Everest loomed, a majestic giant casting its long shadow over our camp. It was a sobering reminder of the challenge ahead, the sheer power of nature we were about to confront. The air was thin, a constant test of my lungs. Every breath was a victory, but I was here, amongst kindred spirits united by a shared passion for pushing the limits. We were like ants at the foot of a mountain, but even ants with enough determination can reach the summit. I took a deep breath, the icy air biting at my lungs, and felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it. The journey had begun. Leaving the relative comfort of base camp, we plunged into the belly of the beast, the Khumbu Icefall. This is where the real challenge began. The glacier, a treacherous labyrinth of ice, constantly shifted and groaned around us. Towering seracs like icy fangs threatened to impale the sky, while deep crevasses yawned beneath our feet, hidden traps waiting to swallow the unwary. Every step was a calculated risk. We moved like tightrope walkers, clipped to a web of fixed ropes, our ice axes our only balance. The air was filled with the ominous creaking and groaning of the glacier, a constant reminder of its raw power. The sun beat down, turning the ice into a blinding mirror. Sweat froze on my face. My heart pounded in my chest, a drumbeat against the silence of the mountains. But fear was a luxury I couldn't afford. Focus was survival. One mistake could be fatal. As we climbed higher, the air grew thinner, each breath a precious commodity. But with each step, each crevasse navigated, each ice wall scaled, came a surge of exhilaration. We were in the heart of the beast, and we were winning. Reaching Camp 1 was like stepping onto another planet. The air was thin, the silence absolute, broken only by the flapping of prayer flags in the wind. We were perched on a narrow ledge carved into the side of the mountain, the world stretching out below us in a dizzying panorama of ice and rock. Acclimatization was key at this altitude. Our bodies needed time to adjust to the lack of oxygen. Every movement was an effort. Simple tasks like melting snow for drinking water became monumental challenges. But as I lay in my tent, the wind howling outside, I felt a strange sense of peace. Above me, the stars blazed with an intensity I had never seen before. I was humbled by the sheer scale of the mountains, the raw power of nature. The view from Camp 1 was breathtaking. Everest, bathed in the golden light of dawn, seemed close enough to touch. It was a sight that filled me with awe and a renewed sense of determination. The summit was still a long way off, but I was one step closer. Leaving the relative shelter of Camp 1, we entered the western Khum, a vast amphitheatre of ice, ringed by some of the highest peaks on Earth. It was a surreal landscape, a sunlit valley of silence and ice. The air was thin, the silence deafening, broken only by the crunch of our boots on the snow. We trudged onward, each step an effort in the thin air. The sun beat down relentlessly, reflecting off the snow and ice, blindingly white. I felt like an ant crawling across a giant's sugar bowl. The scale of the CUM was immense, dwarfing everything I had ever seen. Towering ice cliffs rose on either side, their flanks etched with the passage of avalanches. Above us, Nuptse, Lhotse and Everest pierced the sky, their summits hidden in a veil of clouds. The silence was unnerving. It was a silence that seemed to amplify every sound, every breath, every heartbeat. It was a silence that spoke of the raw power of nature, a power that could crush you in an instant. Reaching Camp 2 was a victory. We had traversed the treacherous Khumbu Icefall, acclimatized at Camp 1, and crossed the vast expanse of the western Khum. Exhaustion warred with elation as I stumbled into camp, the thin air burning my lungs. Flags fluttered in the wind, a splash of colour against the stark landscape. The air buzzed with the chatter of climbers from different expeditions, sharing stories and sips of hot tea. It was a moment of camaraderie, a shared triumph in the face of adversity. We were now at 6,400 metres, closer to the heavens than most people ever dared to dream. The air was thin, the nights bitterly cold, but the views were simply breathtaking. From our perch on the mountain, we could see forever. As I gazed up at the summit of Everest, bathed in the golden light of sunset, I felt a surge of determination. The journey ahead would be even more challenging, but I knew I had the strength, the resilience and the unwavering spirit to face it. One step at a time, we would conquer this mountain.